Welcome to the long-awaited TLM podcast reboot. I'm not Glenn Southam, but I will try and continue his great work in interviewing recruitment marketers about their careers. This series is all about learning the lessons from your recruitment marketing peers. My first guest previously appeared way back in December 2019, before the world went to shit. Michael John Oliver, the Global Marketing Director at MBK Search, was initially a journalist and following a move to London from his native New Zealand, started his career in recruitment marketing at the REC. With 4 years there, he then spent 4 years at Client Server, taking the business and brand on a transformative marketing journey. Michael creates an audio show on LinkedIn called We Need to Talk, and I'd highly recommend tuning in. He's also a professional level photographer, and in my opinion, one of the most satirically funny people on LinkedIn. We completely ballsed up 2 takes of this recording, so join us on take 3 where we start to lose the will to go on. But go on we did, and hopefully the result is an interesting listen. Thank you to Pager, who continue to support TLM and pay me to do this for a job. On with the show. I think it actually makes a nice start to a podcast when you've spent half an hour not being able to do a podcast because you're using advanced recording technology that apparently is high quality and uploads your video and audio in 2 places with a backup, which is all fine if you can fucking hear each other. So here we are on Google Meet. Here we are. None of the fancy stuff.
No, here we are in the there's a metaphor in there somewhere. There's a lesson to be learned about, you know what, fuck it, you know, the best laid plans and all of that, and I'm sure we will do we will pick up this Chekhov's gun at the end of the podcast and we'll be like, hey, it just all kind of loops back around like at the start when we couldn't speak to each other, but yeah, here we are now.
Yeah.
But oh my.
So what do we do? Do we start from the beginning?
Where do we start? I think to be honest, I think that my first answer just kind of went on a little bit. So I feel like I've warmed up the vocal cords. Let start. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the thing that you quickly learn when you start working in marketing. Well, they actually talk a lot about recruitment being the career that people fall into, that nobody picks recruitment. Recruitment isn't a career of choice, as much as the REC, my former employer, would like to say it is. The majority of people either pick it up because they've done a little bit of sales, you know, they've worked for a car phone warehouse, and hell, recruitment isn't that much different. Or, you know, they need something kind of straight out of college, as it's called over here, and the barrier to entry for recruitment is actually surprisingly low for something which has quite high stakes. And that sort of worked the same for me as well. As I moved over here to be a journalist, and that didn't kind of play out. So I ended up finding a job which was sort of journalist adjacent, and recruitment marketing kind of fit that bill. A lot of it is very content based, social media based. Podcasting and video had just started creeping into the marketing mainstream, which sounds an awfully lot like working in a multimedia newsroom, just with much lower stakes. And so I basically did an apprenticeship in marketing just by virtue of working for it. And not only did I learn about the nature of being a marketer, but I learned a lot about what recruitment is and why the UK recruitment industry is as cutthroat as it is. But also just kind of learned the ebbs and flows of what it's like to work in this country too, and what makes, you know, the UK employment market in a professional setting, particularly in London of all places, what makes that unique, what that makes that challenging as well. So I went from that to, you know, kind of found myself crawling up a ladder I actually never thought I would crawl up. Like I was always kind of aware of those guys at uni who took marketing and business studies and thought, that's interesting. I'm taking English because I'm going to be a writer. And then lo and behold, I'm actually sitting among them. They are colleagues and peers who, you know, are basically doing the same thing, doing the marketing. So it's interesting how that all kind of dovetails, and you'll end up doing the same thing anyway.
You didn't miss anything in the marketing degree. Promise you that. I don't think I even used a computer. I can remember hand designing an advert for Gillette.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, and I somehow got a degree and then went to work in the recruitment world and thought, well, waste of 3 years, really. So you didn't miss anything not going down the more conventional route. It was all changed once I actually got a job. So that kind of learn on the job, I think, still applies whether you studied it or not. And English is as a backbone to any career is pretty solid, isn't it?
This is the thing, though. This is like one of the cruxes of Mark Ritson's entire shtick. He believes that, and I, to be honest, I do agree with this point, but I think there are large caveats to it. He says that an education in marketing makes people ostensibly better marketers, which is why he promotes his mini MBA as ardently and as unapologetically as he does. It's like, if you learn the theory and you learn the understanding of it, you guess what? You're going to understand that there's a hell of a lot better as well. But I think the thing about that is that the marketing that is taught there and the marketers that are attracted to that kind of study are the kind of marketers that you see in recruitment. And I've always thought that recruitment marketing is kind of, it isn't cool. It's basically the dad genes of marketing. Like,
yeah, but aren't they cool now?
Well, apparently so. But this is
recruitment marketing's become cool by cycle.
Exactly, like
denim.
Exactly, everything. We are the double denim of the marketing world. But it's interesting that the more that recruitment has resisted marketing, resisted the tropes of marketing, not just being on social media and not just banging out blogs, but the kind of the whole idea of average customer cost and tangible ROI and marketing qualified leads. The more that they've resisted that, the more that's actually become what they look for. And when you, as a marketer, start speaking in that kind of language, that kind of like quasi business jargon, their eyes light up like fucking Christmas trees because they're like, oh, you do understand business. Oh, that's very good. And it's just interesting how that hasn't been the norm.
Yeah, because when you've seen, I say this with the best intentions, the industry has evolved. You've been in it for 10 years-ish.
Yeah.
I've been in it for over that. It has definitely improved and it's definitely evolved. But when you look across at other people marketing in different industries and see what actually happens into the day-to-day, we're still poles apart.
God, yes. I'll tell you a story. There was a guy I used to work with at the REC. His brother worked in marketing for BT, and BT's marketing is almost, well, it's the level of creepiness is astounding. But they had constructed a replica home office, like everything from the desk to the monitors to even the art on the wall. It was all fake. And all they did, their market research was to just get people to come in and sit at the computer and just browse websites, use the internet, et cetera, et cetera. It all sounds good, but what they were doing, they were tracking every single aspect of what that person was doing, where their eyes were moving, where their mouse cursor was going. All of that was data that was feeding into the BT machine for how they could make a better user experience, a more compelling case. And that kind of thing just seemed alien and bizarre to someone who has to bite and claw to get just a crumb of a marketing budget to get Pager or fucking HubSpot or something that you could just do to make your job just that little bit easier and that little bit better. The idea that argument has not only been made, it is bred in. It's part of what is the fabric of these companies. And I'm like, well, of course, recruitment companies aren't going to fucking evolve. Well, they will evolve, but they will do it kind of like as their frog march towards it.
Yeah, kicking and screaming.
And when they get there, they're like, oh, this is actually not too bad. Well, that's pretty good. We're making money doing this. Wow, that's amazing. And we are sitting there with kind of like our hands on our chins going, yeah, we fucking told you so.
We told you a long time ago.
Yeah.
And we didn't give up. We're still here.
We did.
We, we're interesting one, right? So one of the most powerful things, in my opinion, for a marketer to do is speak to customers.
Mm.
Yet, as a sector or industry, like you say, limited budgets, hard to get budgets. But there's equally a preciousness, right? Where if you go and sit in as a recruitment marketer, what kind of reaction do you think you get if you suddenly start picking up the phone to customers?
This is the thing that I knew that I had to start doing at client server that I wasn't doing. I spent a lot of time talking about how marketing needs to be more than a silo. We actually need
Yeah.
to get under the skin of the business and understand what it is that makes it function. And so I decided to do a very simple thing, which was I was going to hot desk. I was just going to bounce around teams. It was just going to be, oh yeah,
It's a
Mike
good
from marketing
idea.
is going to sit with us today. And the mission wasn't to just kind of like eavesdrop or jump in on calls or ask questions. It was just simply to
Mm,
absorb it and by osmosis figure out what the fuck do these people do for 8 hours every single day. And what became incredibly clear is that a lot of people, a lot of recruiters were having the same conversations every single hour. Same
yeah.
conversation with different people over and over again. So themes were starting to emerge, questions were starting to emerge, issues, problems, solutions were starting to emerge, whether that would be with dealing with the cantankerous candidate who thinks like, well, all recruiters are shit and it's a privilege for them to be speaking to me of all people. And then the idea that the technology that the recruiters were using wasn't up to scratch because it wasn't able to do this thing and this thing on, they would recruiters are very vocal with things that displease them. So they will
Mhm.
scream point blank, this thing is shit because it can't do this thing and this thing. And as a marketer, as someone who believes in his heart of hearts that marketing is the solutions department and that we are the ones uniquely placed to find solutions to any number of business issues, this was actually gold. So not
Mhm.
only was I pulling content for blogs and ideas from just overhearing these conversations over and over again, I was also coming up with ways that you could be more efficient, better, and faster at what you're actually doing. But that had to be done with an element of subterfuge. There had to be that kind of, I'm not actually going to tell you how to do the job better. I'm not going to kind of inflict my presence upon you know your candidate calls or anything like that. I'm just
Yeah.
going to try and pick out what I can. And by virtue of doing that, I actually obtained a hell of a lot more information than I really thought. But I think there are recruiters who I would say not necessarily consider marketing a ball ache and not necessarily consider that kind of thing. Well, be precious about it at the very least. I think there are recruiters who just simply get into a rhythm and they
Mhm.
have their patter down and the good ones, basically they don't have time to bring you into their lane because they are
Yeah.
so focused, so kind of laser focused on what they want that the idea of having the marketing dude just kind of there actually
Interfering
and
almost.
just being there, just like, oh, for God's sakes, how much is this going to slow me down? And so I appreciate, and that was another thing. And a lot of marketers, particularly recruitment marketers, spend a lot of time complaining about how recruiters don't appreciate what we do, don't understand what we do. And
Mm.
I have come to think that, turnabout is fair play. How much do we understand about the monotony of calling people over and over to say, you applied for this job. Can I ask you a few questions? Oh, good. What is your right to work status? You don't have a right to work status. I can't do anything for you. Hang up, call the next person, have the exact
Yeah.
same conversation over and over again. Glassdoor is littered with recruiters who have left companies saying it's the same job 8 hours a day. You're picking up the phone, you're resourcing, you're basically a glorified CV monkey.
Because the impact of a good marketer or marketing function is similar to learning and development or training, as it was formerly known. You can
Mm.
impact several people and move all of them up, even if it's marginal and some more than others adopt it, then that impact can be broad, can't it? So where you are at the minute, you can implement initiatives, campaigns that could have so much more impact than what any other one individual can do.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and it's the thing which you yourself don't actually see that while you're in the thick of it. And I think that's the thing. Like marketers are the world champions at making other people and other businesses look and sound great. Absolutely suck at shouting about how good we are. There's this kind of like collective self-esteem, self-value issue where we just simply consider ourselves to be like basically the add-on. We are the we are the red mark on the balance sheet. Like, oh, we are a cost center and nothing else. And it's only very recently that I feel that this is just like generally speaking, marketing as a profession has started to thump its chest a little bit more and say, well, actually, we do this because we do this. We bring more than just revenue. We bring this value and this value and this value. But it doesn't come naturally to us, does it? Like it's an awkward thing. But I feel that the most successful recruitment marketers are those who kind of see what the game is. They don't buy into it, but they know that they can invest as much as they need to, but pull back when they need to, and they don't lose sight of themselves. The ones who are sort of like inwardly confident, they're the ones who actually tend to do pretty damn well. And so I think there's something about that, but that's something I've noticed a lot in the last, say, 5 or so years. It's like we are actually now a profession in an industry that is very, very big on being very vocal. And we are actually now starting to be a lot more vocal ourselves.
I totally agree with that. Kind of building on from that, do you think, in a weird kind of way, does the profession of a recruitment marketer attract introverts? Or is it just mere coincidence? Because I'd like to think in other sectors, the marketers wouldn't necessarily fall in line to having introverted characteristics. It'd be a nice mix. But I tend to come across a lot of introverted marketers in this sector.
Think about the nature of what a recruitment marketing job used to involve. It was a lot of blogging, a lot of copywriting, a lot of very kind of quiet social media work as well. That work tends to appeal to those of us who have Kindles with hundreds of books on them. We are the kind of the quietly spoken, just kind of get on with it. The more vocal, the more kind of like salesy people, they tend to gravitate towards enough recruitment jobs. So but by virtue of what was demanded and what was asked of us, those kind of jobs tended to appeal to a certain kind of personality. And again, I think that it speaks to a tradition of valuing loudness over quietness. But once people started to reconcile that you could have a powerful position within a business just by being good at what you do and demonstrating that inexplicable thing called value, then that actually started to recruitment marketers tend to find their voice, but not lose sight of who they were. Like I don't think all of a sudden we have like an introverted and an extroverted self and we play the extroverted card.
No.
But I think we know how to live within our introversion.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think we have to come out of our shell, and naturally you do with time in any kind of career. What you've seen when you, I guess, not so much your previous role in the REC, but the recruitment marketer role that you went into and the day-to-day responsibilities. Obviously, you were involved in evolving what the role meant. But from what your day-to-day was then, what do you see as the major shifts towards what you look at other recruitment marketers doing now? Where do you think the roles come from and to?
Yeah, so you think about the lifespan of someone who works in marketing in a recruitment company. For like that first 6 to 12 months, you're basically just getting your feet under the table. You're learning the systems, you're learning the ropes, you are implementing a very kind of basic amount of strategy and basic amount of tactics. You're just kind of getting the machine moving. From about year 2 onwards, like that machine is actually pretty well set, and you've got some pretty ironclad processes in place, and the workflow is good. You understand like the thinking of the people you're working with. Your team is kind of like humming. It's all well and good, and you could just be a marketer who sort of sits in that comfort because really nothing's broken. Everything just kind of keeps moving. It's fantastic, and I think for a long time, that was all that was ever asked of recruitment marketers. Like, they just want to make sure that the website works, that we've got content going out, that the incentive trips are being posted, but don't put anything that's going to incriminate anyone. All that kind of good stuff was just, it was just being done. What I found has been asked of marketers who are staying in these jobs longer, because I think there's an element of a half-life too. Where normally, like, a recruitment marketer will perhaps do that job for 2 years, get bored with just doing the same old, and ship off and do something else. But
Yeah.
a lot more marketers, a lot more senior marketers in recruitment are sticking with it, and their jobs are evolving because they're not just going from being like a senior marketing manager through to head of marketing, a director, etc. They're getting job titles like, chief of revenue growth, or chief of growth, or senior growth officer. And it's bringing the element of sales,
Yeah.
consultancy, and marketing together. A lot of recruitment businesses position themselves as being experts. Like, we're experts in the field. We understand your needs, not just your employment needs, not just your hiring needs, but we understand the nuts and bolts of your business.
But the thing I'm seeing is a major shift in terms of recruitment marketing is this almost like default that once a tipping point has been reached by leadership within a recruitment company, and the tipping point is, okay, let's not suppress each individual's personal brand, quote unquote. Let's actually go for it, because we can see it's working elsewhere. So let's do the typical thing and jump on the bandwagon and say all of our consultants need to have a personal brand. They all need to be posted on social media. It's definitely the way forward. Where does that sit within the recruitment business? Because more and more I'm seeing that responsibility land on the recruitment marketer or marketing team, and I'm not against it, but have they not got a broader job to do? Where does it squeeze in? What's your take on that trend?
They say that one of the easiest marketing tactics out there is actually working for a company that produces a good product, and that's just it. Like, the quality kind of speaks for itself. So when you get something good, you're like, this product is amazing. Like, the marketing doesn't need to be it can be very po-faced. Actually say, this is just extremely good. And I think in recruitment marketing, in fact, in recruitment companies, like, I think what we don't perhaps really think about is that we say, well, it would be great if we had like a marketing team. If we had like 4 or 5 other marketers working with us, that would make our lives a hell of a lot easier. You work for a recruitment company which has a headcount of, like, let's say 100. And like, well, it would be amazing if we had like, X number of marketers. The thing is, like, in actual fact, you've got 80 billion consultants who are basically doing marketing. So you might not have direct line managerial responsibility for them, but you know what?
I mean, you wouldn't want that, but
no, you would go insane, absolutely. But ostensibly, they are doing marketing. They are marketing. They are, whenever they pick up the phone to a candidate, the experience of dealing with your company, dealing with the company, the experience of applying for a job and going through that process, that is marketing, because it is all about brand, it's about reputation, it's about feelings. So the extent to which we need to coach that, I think we can't do it on our own, and we can't be expected to do it on our own. We can show that, that there's a massive difference between being sort of like an arbiter of quality and being kind of like the go-to expert in this particular field for getting jobs and understanding the ebbs and flows of the market. There's a difference between that and telling a recruiter, please don't put the X-rated meme up on LinkedIn just for a laugh, because that's going to get engagement. Like, you've got to find like that middle ground. And so it's as much as we love the autonomy, as much as we love being told, hey, here's a sheet of paper, go forth and write your symphony. It is something we really need, like a production team around. And that production team needs to have someone at the very top, from like the C level, someone kind of like from that side. It needs an HR component as well, because this is all about employer outward posting. So yeah, of course there needs to be an HR person involved too, but there also needs to be a pretty big buy-in from sales as well, because they understand and they see things from a different perspective. They see LinkedIn as see the opportunities that we perhaps aren't naturally going to gravitate towards.
Yeah.
And I think there needs to be a strong consensus for this is how we articulate our voice. These are the values that our business stands for. This is the mission. This is how we demonstrate quality. This is how we show that we've got that kind of white glove service.
Yeah.
But this isn't just the marketing team banging on about it because we don't want you to post, porn memes. We all believe and we've all bought into it, and we're all doing it. We all understand that this is who we are, and through multiple voices, we are one. So it's something that we can do. We certainly, I've seen marketing teams and recruitment be able to kind of push that ball forward, but we won't push it as far as it needs to go unless we've got everyone else kind of chipping in and adding to it and doing it in a way that says, well, we get the value, we understand why this is important, and we understand that if we do this, this will be the result of it. That's perhaps something that recruitment marketers could do a hell of a lot more, is explaining, this is why we're doing it, this is the difference it's going to make, and this is how we're going to measure it.
Yeah.
We can hold hands and we can take people on that journey, but we still need people to join us on the journey, and it needs to be senior people who buy into it and understand it and can tell us, can look around corners that we can't look around and say, hey, just be wary of this, this, and this. I think it needs to be a team thing.
Yeah, there's the opportunity is there, but you can't force it just because other people are doing it. I agree. Give it a fair crack of the whip, and if people are collaborative, and that would come down to a culture thing for me. If there's a culture of collaboration and teams do work together, and it isn't an us and them, I think it's well worth the time of a marketer to work with a salesperson, sales team, to act as that extension of the brand. It sounds a bit cheesy, but it just scales. It
Absolutely.
scales better than what you can do on your own. And I think if people don't cooperate and don't go with it, that's where you've got to be a strong marketer and go, okay, there's another 10 ideas I could kick off next week if I don't have to try and drag you kicking and screaming through this process. So yeah, it's valid. It's not just a trend, I don't think. But equally, I disagree with anyone saying just post 3 times a week, you'll make a shitload of placements. Much more complicated than that.
Interesting. There's an agency whose name we shall not speak of, whose entire shtick is that, and it drives me insane. What I find, let me ask you a question, because you speak to a number of recruitment marketers. You are. I think that by virtue of working for Pager, you've got the view that I used to have when I worked at the REC, is that you see the lay of the whole recruitment land. How many recruitment companies make what is ostensibly marketing, social media, personal brand engagement, all that kind of stuff? How many recruitment companies do you know make that part of their KPI, make that part of a recruiter's KPIs? In order for you to succeed and grow and do your job properly and what you'll be measured by, this is actually important. And it's something we will codify and put down on paper. And so when you have your annual review, we're going to say, hey, how has your social output been? Do you know of anyone who does that?
0.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting?
Now, that's not to say it doesn't get put into reports, slide decks, and whatnot. But is someone actually going to get told off for not doing it? Never heard of it.
Isn't that such? You hate to think that we need to strong arm people into doing it, but we strong arm recruiters into doing just about every fucking thing else that they do, and they get paid commission if they do it well.
Yeah.
Why not this? It just seems to me that we will go so far. Recruitment businesses will go so far and say 80% of the way, we get the value, we get the value. Can't make that a KPI. Maybe it's an HR nightmare. Maybe there's legalities that I don't appreciate. But it seems to me that if it is such an important part of, it's such a huge opportunity, such a big money-making opportunity. And that's, rub our hands like Scrooge McDuck here, because this is exactly what we're talking about. And I say this to recruiters all the time. This is we're not just saying this just to,
just for a laugh.
This is
just to give us something to do and think about it.
This is actually, this is an investment. This could make you a shit ton of money, which is why you are doing this job, right? But
Yeah.
that we will say that, and recruitment businesses will say that, but they won't put it in black and white and put it into writing. If you're going to be a recruiter at this company, a
This
measure
is
of
the
success,
expectation.
a non-negotiable that we will actually measure you against, is that you buy into the social media stuff. And this is how we're going to qualify that. That's insane that
Interesting.
it's not done. It's insane that it's not done.
What do you see as like the way forward for a marketer trying to say, right, here's how we're going to measure ROI, here's how we're going to make it easy? Because I've still not got to the bottom of it. I can't perfect it, can't give a blueprint for it. So it's interesting, someone who's doing the job where I imagine ROI is important. And obviously you've experienced different recruitment companies trying to crack this nut, so to speak. So what's your take on that?
I think what we do and what we haven't done as a profession, not just in recruitment marketing, but in marketing in general, is that we spend an insane amount of time learning to speak the language of marketing. So we will rattle off any number of acronyms and banal marketing jargon off the top of our head like that.
Yeah.
But we will struggle to find any marketers who are able to sit down in front of a balance sheet and tell you exactly where the company is at financially and be able to speak to it from a position of of knowledge and authority. Like we know the perfect times to post on LinkedIn. We know how to massage the algorithm. We know how to do this. We know how to do that. But if we sat down with a CFO and talked about the P&L, we would probably get so far and then sit there smiling like,
Shit.
I know numbers. What we have sucked at is that we haven't learned how to speak the language of the people who aren't in marketing and who are only really interested in like the nuts and bolts and the ROI and all that good stuff. Once we do learn to do that, I think the key is we learn to lead with that. The marketing side, we can almost speak about that anytime. We can bring that in. What we haven't done is, and that's because we simply don't have the confidence to do it properly and to do it with any degree of authority, is that we don't talk about the ROI straight away. So one of the three things I mentioned it before, like it's the equation is simple. Like whenever we want to do anything, you want to launch any kind of campaign, you want to start any kind of initiative, it doesn't matter what it is. If you can say to anyone, this is the reason why we do this, this is the difference this thing will make to us, and this is how we are going to measure it. And those answers are basically as black and white as you can make them. You can get just about anyone in any department on your side. But we don't. We wax lyrical about stupid marketing bullshit because it's the only language we know how to speak, and it's the only thing we know how to do with any degree of authority. And we don't speak to anyone else besides marketing anyway. So we're like, well, why doesn't this work? But if we do that, if we just make an effort, kind of like a diplomatic effort to say, listen,
learn the basics, like how to say hello, goodbye, and order a beer when you go to a foreign country.
Exactly. And that's the thing is you learn so much about yourself as a marketer when you understand, okay, what is the ROI? What if we do this? How much money can I reasonably expect this business to make in the future? All things remaining equal, which I know is, a crazy thing in economics, but just if the market kind of like stays steady and we do this thing, how much money will we actually make? And when you start explaining things in that term right from the beginning, not midway through, not on
not
slide
at the
number
bottom.
15.
Here's where we start, like
slide 1.
Invert the pyramid.
Exactly.
Invert the funnel, let's say.
Invert the funnel.
Show you the top of the funnel, and then maybe a layer below how we got that, and here's what. You don't need to know all the things right down there that didn't really work out or had marginal gain.
Absolutely not. Like you just make that effort.
The other hard thing is going to report on that stuff, and it's zero.
Well, that's the thing. I think
that's a scary thing, isn't it? You can do a lot of marketing that doesn't yield results.
Yeah.
And then you shy away from zeros because you're like, oh, fuck, it doesn't work.
But this is the thing that we in marketing love a big reveal. We like, if something has gone really well, we kind of like to get as many people in the room as possible so we can pull back the curtain and say, we increased our marketing qualified leads increased by 50% and increased revenue by X amount, we've done something amazing.
Yeah.
We also kind of suck at doing it when it goes wrong because we don't know how to show anything else. We don't kind of like flag it straight away. And I think this is something we need to do beyond just doing these dramatic reveals. We need to actually bring people on the journey. And when things are starting to turn and starting to go south, like everyone should be aware of it. And we should be able to nip it in the bud and be agile and adjust it. We shouldn't have to get to a point where like, oh, it's actually zero. Yeah, soz about that. I'll just pack my shit now and fuck off. Like we should.
I told you it'd take 3 to 6 months to know.
Setting expectations.
We're at the end of 6 months and it didn't work.
Absolutely. Well, this is the other thing that actually you joke, but you actually set up a very interesting point. We do need to get better at managing expectations as well.
Yeah.
Like the idea of like the marketing split being 80% brand building, 20% performance. Like I feel that a lot of people think marketing is 100% performance. Well, actually, there's some stuff that is just going to take time to bed in. Like if you're going to start a content marketing strategy, guess what? You're not making fucking anything off that for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just it. It is. It's
Don't
a
get into
thing.
it. Don't get into it. If you know, I've advised similar with LinkedIn ads. Yes, it can be very reactive. And yes, it can yield results quickly. But any type of repeat results, you need 3 months runway to get your house in order, know what you're investing in, know what your likely returns are. And then, like you said, it's always on that caveat of all things being equal.
Yeah.
Someone coming out in the news and saying recession. That landscape shifts in an instant that you can't tweak a campaign the day a recession gets announced to counteract that. So it's interesting. I'm going to come back to slightly less serious because I thought that was really insightful and leaning on your experience there. I just think people listen and go, do you know what? Fuck, I get asked about ROI all the time and I'm still telling about 100,000 likes on our content on social media last month, and everyone just like their eyes glaze over and go, don't care. So I'm going to ask you for 2 things here, right? So you've got enough experience with all the different channels, all the different initiatives. If you were you are a recruitment marketer, but if you're offering advice to perhaps more junior recruitment marketers, what's the one recruitment marketing thing that you see time and again that people get stuck into and you just think, fuck it, park it, don't bother investing any more time in it. It's never going to yield the results. What's the one thing that you go, just drop it tomorrow?
Your company Instagram.
Nice.
The company Instagram. And it's not the channel in and of itself. It's not the platform in and of itself. It's what's put on there.
Yeah.
A lot of recruitment companies, a lot of recruitment marketers treat social media platforms like it's the company intranet. And so you get, group photos of people just kind of standing around on ugly sweater day and, bring your parrot to work day. And it's fucking Valentine's Day. So we're making heart shapes with our hands. All of this kind
Is that not an employer value proposition? Surely.
But is it?
No,
I know you're being
it's
facetious, but this is the thing. Like we think we need to show people what the culture is here. We need to show that we're actually nice people. We're a nice place to work. It's a fucking cost of living crisis. You can't buy a house if you're on a single income, and we think that is valuable. We talk about recruitment being a career of choice, and yet we don't demonstrate what the value of the career is. Oh my God, it drives me insane. But the other thing is, it just looks so bad. It's like getting a Christmas card. It's reading the room. It's getting like a Christmas card that with the family photo, and here's Uncle Jim kind of like looking half hungover, but Merry Christmas from the Robertsons. It's just insane. Like there's no value to it. You're doing it just so it can look busy, and you're doing it just so you can create just a very teensy-weensy amount of good vibes in the office, which people will enjoy for 3.5 fucking seconds before they move on to other content on Instagram. Cut it out. It makes no sense to have it there. It does nothing for you. It's a ball ache to organize. Like, can we get everyone around for a group photo? Oh,
no one wants to.
It makes me angry. And the thing is, it's cheap, easy content that doesn't demonstrate quality, doesn't demonstrate value, doesn't show why your clients should choose you over the 15,000 other recruitment companies who do what you do. It's just basically self-indulgent wank, and it has no place in any sophisticated marketing toolbook.
You got it, yeah, and that's the reason for the question. Sometimes it's just hearing someone else say what you've just said. You might think, fuck, yeah, let's just be brave enough to go, fuck that. It's not adding any value. So in reverse, what's same thing? All these different things you've seen, whether it be current job or say you walked into a new recruitment marketing job next week. What is the one thing that is must do? Like, we have to have concerted effort, spend time in this thing.
I think there's going to be a certain someone whose name rhymes with Pitch Mullivan who will love me for this, but I think the idea of articulating a job proposition and a job ad is something that the entire fucking world of capitalism hasn't got.
It's madness.
Right. It's insane, and it's insane that we work in an industry which, you know, we call ourselves consultancies, and we call ourselves experts, and we advise businesses and clients on how to articulate their employer value proposition properly. And yet you see the kind of ads that companies put out on their really badly maintained job boards, and you think, we just don't give a shit. We just simply don't. And there's the room, everyone is screaming, please put things like, tell us what the salary is. Tell us what am I going to get out of working here? Like, where can I see myself in 5 years' time? Why is this business worth me applying some of my, finite time here on this cursed planet? Like, all of these things we just don't talk about. And I think that recruitment companies, we just kind of like shrug our shoulders and
we
say,
just don't do the basics.
Just don't care.
All the stuff that a marketing function's doing in a roundabout way is going to put more eyeballs on job adverts. Yet we still, like, everything else distracts us from that. How good are our job adverts? Have we got the jobs advertised? And if they're advertised, are they advertised and not just copied and pasted? Yeah. There was a post this morning about it from the perspective of an agency or a recruiter turning around and going, yeah, we only do ads for brand awareness, so we don't take them that seriously.
That's the thing. Well, that is straight away, like, red flag, red flag, red flag. Like, if it's for brand awareness, don't you want it to be as fucking amazing as it should be? Like,
irony, isn't it?
It's free advertising for your brand, you fucking cretin. Like, get your head around that. And it blows my mind that it's the standard is so low. The standard is so low that and one of the most compelling reasons you would want to work with any kind of employment agency as a business, as someone who would use recruitment companies, is that because these companies will be able to tell you how to do your job better. And one of the biggest things that you can do straight away is you want to attract a higher caliber of person, a kind of person who
could do the job.
Do the job. Yeah. Are you doing everything you can to attract them with an advertisement? And if the answer is yes, then fucking prove it. Show me why these job ads are the absolute creme de la crop, can't be improved. That's just a glorified job spec which you've added a couple of sentences about your mission to the end of. Well done. You haven't done it. And we should, as recruitment,
but they're an equal opportunities employer. They'll always put that.
Oh, well, exactly. Let's go look on their board website and say how many white faces and how many ostensibly old, I could go and say, like, businesses who talk about being equal opportunity, and you're talking about D&I and saying, it's part of who we are and part of what we're about. And then as soon as that thing starts costing money, or at the very least starts attracting even a small amount of bad press, no, absolutely no interest in it. And fuck it. Why are we doing this again? What's the point of it? Drives me insane. Hypocrisy, Kieron, drives me insane.
It's everywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's rife in our industry, and we need to keep up the good fight. People like you, sir. People like Pager.
We're in it together. We're fighting the good fight.
We are fighting the good fight. And I love it. I love fighting the good fight. I don't subscribe to the idea that you have to be nice to people on LinkedIn just because it's a professional network.
No, I don't think. The one for me is the professional thing. What? Like, What is professional? Do you want me to put a tie on this meme? I'm just gonna put every meme from now.
You just created a meme.
I'm just
Oh
gonna
my
put a
God.
tie on it.
Oh my, like, just put a tie on it. Put a fucking tie on it.
That's professional.
Exactly. Yeah. Here's a your dad's dirty Hustler magazine pile from the fucking 1980s. Just put a tie on it. Professional. Done. We've created a meme, sir.
I like it. So last three questions, and you might notice that I've shaved some of Glenn's old last questions off because I struggled to answer one myself and thought, fuck it, I'm not asking everyone what their favorite sound is. Favorite technology. So technology can be hardware, software, whatever your favorite tech is. I can remind you of what you said last time if you want.
Oh, you've got please hit me with this.
Adobe.
It's, you know what? It still is. It still is.
Specifically Photoshop.
It is Photoshop. I had as someone who learned the hard way. I grew up in an age where you didn't have Canva, so it was if you wanted to learn how to create banners or crop images, so you needed to learn Photoshop, and that was it. That was it. And so because I'm set in my ways and I just simply can't be bothered learning to log in and use another tool, I just use Photoshop. And inevitably, like the Adobe suite, the keystrokes are the same, the layout is, the UI is the same. You just kind of understand it. Now, that said, there are plenty of viable quality alternatives, but I'm a lazy man and I don't really want to learn how to learn how to use them. So I'm still Team Adobe. 100% Team Adobe.
Consistency from pre-pandemic. I like it.
Yes.
Your favorite brand?
Favorite brand? I remember this question last time, and I actually said the best brand, and this actually surprised Glenn. I said BBC. Because I thought when people think about the BBC, they just think about the news side. They don't think about the massive production studio and the sort of like the cultural talents that grow out from that out into the wider world. You think about like actually the everything about that company and what it produces, and the fact that you get it for free. Just I mean, you get it, you pay a license fee, but
it's a bargain.
It's insane, and it's not just 720p. We're talking freaking 4K quality. You can watch sport. You can get films. You can get quality TV shows. All of that is there.
Radio. For any flavor of radio you would like.
Any flavor of radio you want, it's there and it's good. Yes, there are issues with the editorial voice, but find me any news organization that's ever existed that doesn't have that issue. It's a phenomenal brand. It's always going to be a phenomenal brand. I will tell you the one brand I don't care for. I don't give.
This is a good one, actually. I might split this question. Favorite brand is a great question, but least favorite brand.
Least favorite brand, I have two at the moment. Two, BrewDog, because they are walking, talking hypocrites.
No more living wage at BrewDog.
No more living wage at BrewDog. But we will. I detest the way the phrase virtue signaling has been co-opted by certain political sides, but at the same time, I think they embody that energy that they will say something and then they will immediately counter it and then say, "But we did a good thing. Why isn't that good enough?" And then
we did it for a while.
We did it for a while, and we got bored about it. So I despise BrewDog, and I hate that some of their products are actually quite good, but I'm
there's delicious alternatives out there.
There are so many. Exactly. I'm prepared to go looking. So BrewDog is number one. Number two is this fucking cereal company.
Yes.
I have read so many thoughts
about the family background of it, right?
Yeah.
That was your post, wasn't it? My biggest, I don't mind admitting I got sucked in about 6 months ago, because maybe I shouldn't admit this for an almost 40-year-old man, but I do love eating cereal. And I'd like a healthier diet. But it's fucking horrible. It's horrible.
Someone posted the ingredients in that, and it's filled with preservatives and emulsifiers and things that should preserve and make food better, not actually be the main ingredients of food.
Yeah.
But it's my beef with them is, well, one, their product is terrible. That's one thing. But it's the kind of cloying finger in the dimple, like, oh, aren't we cheeky? We're going to put funny quotes on, funny things up on LinkedIn, and here's our 3 billboards outside somewhere, which it's us being kind of funny and wacky. And I'm willing to admit this is a taste thing, that I just kind of look at that and be like, shut the fuck up. For the fuck's sakes, I don't care. You're not funny. You're mildly amusing at best. And I detest anyone who's kind of slapped you on the back and told you that what you're doing is a work of genius. And you see it all the time, like, this is genius. No, it's not.
It's not.
It's
It's the extension of the twee.
It's really, it's just like, exactly. And it's just like,
people listening will go, I love Innocent. And it's like, no,
you don't.
The genius at copyright. No, they're not.
No, it's not genius copywriting. It's shit posting at scale. That is it. And there are funnier people on, inserts, microblogging website of choice here, whatever it is, who are infinitely funnier and will make fun of you for your kind of cloying twee, oh, it's so clever kind of thing. And it just drives me insane, because I still believe to this day that the most effective marketing in the fucking country, hands down, the most effective marketing is the Tesco meal deal. And what kind of marketing is involved in that? Well, they make their labels slightly yellow and say, if you buy this, if you buy these other 2 things, it's cheaper. But really, that's it. And the thing is, it works. Yeah, the meal deal has increased in price a little bit. Still fucking works though, doesn't it?
We can probably already guess this one, but let's end with your favorite swear word.
I think last time I said fuck because it's classic and it rolls off the tongue. But I'm still going to say fuck is my favorite, because it's that hard consonant. It's that and that you can add ing to it, and it's just, regardless of tone or place or meaning, you can alter it in so many different ways. It's so malleable, and it sounds beautiful coming out of the mouth when it's done brilliantly.
On that note, I think that's been a podcast about recruitment marketing. Or
please tell me that's how you get
people in their late 30s swearing and whinging.
A fine way to spend a work day. 2 men in their late 30s deploying swear words with reckless abandon and getting paid for it.
And both getting paid for it. For the record, if anyone's looking for software to record podcasts, don't bother with Riverside. That was awful. Google Meet has saved the day.
Google, you know what? It can't beat Google Meet. I will.
That's marketing.
I'll take my invoice and check form. Thank you very much, Google.
We'll put a tie on that meme.
Put a tie on that fucker. Good.
Thank you for listening to the Lonely Marketers podcast. If you would like to join like-minded recruitment marketers in our WhatsApp group, visit the LinkedIn page and scan the QR code in the banner. This podcast is created by the team at Pager. For more information about how Pager can help build personal brands for your recruiters and scale your content distribution efforts, visit pager.co. PAIGER.co. You can find me on LinkedIn if you'd like to connect for more content about recruitment marketing.